Hey there everybody, I'm Level 5 and welcome to the Level 5 channel. This is where we talk about movies, video games and TV shows and cartoons and comic books and all sorts. Today we finally dive into our episode reviews. I'm going to be diving into all sorts of TV shows and of course if there's a TV show you guys want me to review, let me know. I'm doing episode 1s for now, diving into the pilot episodes and seeing how these shows came to be. So, again, if there's a TV show you guys particularly want me to review, it would be episode 1 of that TV show, then let me know, and I'll see what I can do. We're starting off with a TV show that I think gets a lot of love, gets a lot of attention, and of course, it's a huge fan favourite. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So, that's exactly what we're going to do today. Now, this is the episode 1 review, which means I'm not going to be covering season 2 and season 3 just yet. That being said, though, if there is any particular Mighty Morphin Power Ranger episode you want me to cover, then let me know and I'll get to it at some point. But for now, we're sticking with episode 1, or pilot episodes as they're called. So, any pilot episodes of any TV shows, let me know in the comments down below. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 actually was adapted from Super Sentai Zyuranger, and it came out in the early 90s. It was a fun TV show, bringing this teenage with attitude, teenagers being superheroes sort of genre to a live action scene for kids' cartoons, or kids' TV shows. It definitely made a staple in society, and people who have grown up with Power Rangers, or even adults who love the superhero genre, definitely tuned into Power Rangers. And now we're 30 years later, with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers celebrating their 30th anniversary last year, and having a Netflix one-off special. So, with me done rambling on about my introduction, let's get down to the review. So this is my review on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Season 1, Episode 1, Day of the Dumpster. We start with our theme song, which kind of spoils the whole episode. But, oh well, my thoughts is, it's great. It held itself together for 30 years, and it still absolutely rocks. I caught myself singing along for sure. I wasn't a Zordon era kid. I was born the same year that Power Rangers in Space came out. So, as I was growing up, the Zordon era kind of fell down, and then of course we entered the post-Zordon era as I got into Power Rangers. But this is definitely one of the best introductions. We also meet the cast, see the Morphin sequence, see the Megazord, and, are introduced to everyone. So, officially, we start off with 2 individuals landing on a planet and find something strange, which one labels as a dumpster-looking thing. Which, by the way, no, it doesn't. It doesn't look like a dumpster at all, and I'm rather confused on why you'd think that. But, I digress, this was the early 90s. They remove the top of it, and 4 monsters escape in a flash of light. Then, one of the monsters calls for Rita to wake up, and she emerges. She tells the 2 explorers not to leave, because they'll be destroying the nearest planet. Fade into Angel Grove Youth Center, Gym and Juice Bar, where we see a whole bunch of teens doing various activities. And here we meet 4 of our main cast. Jason and Zach are training, and Trini and Kimberly are doing some form of acrobats and gymnastics. Our 5th member walks in karate gear. This would be Billy. And he states that this is our first class of martial arts. Because he's not a martial artist of any kind. Then the 2 jackasses of the season walk in and flirt with Trini and Kimberly, or try their best to. These are Bulk and Skull. When told to back off, they get all confrontational, which Jack tries to interject, but the girls do manage to flip these guys over like a child's mattress. And very well done, might I add. Then we cut to Rita, now in a castle on the moon. She barks at one of her minions, known as Finster, and tells him to make putty patrollers. Then the one in gold, or Goldar, but Rita doesn't really say his name, tells him to, lead the attack on Earth. We jump back to the Gym and Juice Bar, where Billy struggles with Jason's martial arts class, having a hard time with this sequence. Jason asked the class a question, and Billy managed to answer it straight away, showing that he truly does care and wants to learn, and has attention to detail. And again, Bulk and Skull once again intervenes, demanding a lesson in martial arts. Jason embarrasses Bulk pretty badly, and once again by getting him to do more advanced kicking moves and having Bulk land on his face. I will admit, this did make me laugh. The team all sit down and give Billy a pat on the back for a job well done on his first lesson. Then we meet Ernie, the owner of the Gym and Juice Bar, but before he can put down any order down on the table, the ground starts to shake and the city goes into a wide panic. We turn to the command center, which isn't labelled here, but we know this as the command center later down the road, and a big head in a tube appears and tells his robot assistant, who's called Alpha, not to panic about the earthquake, it's just Rita. And I quote, he needs to get 5 unbearing and over-emotional individuals. The robot Alpha doesn't like the idea, but does manage to get 5 teenagers. Our main cast then teleport out of the Gym and Juice Bar and appear in the command center. They teleport through different colors, which kind of hints at the color range they are. I do like that. That's a good little nod. They turn up in the command center and meet Alpha the robot, and the floaty head in the tube introduces himself as Zordon, a intergalactic being trapped in a time warp. Oh no, it's space timey-wimey shit. Our teens are skeptical, but they look into the viewing globe and see Rita and her army when Zordon tells them that they will be tapping into ancient powers and their morphers appear on their belt. Zordon then explains that they are Power Rangers, using the powers to fight evil, and tells them about the Zords they get to wield. Jason gets the Tyrannosaurus, Zack gets a Mastodon, Kimberly the Pterodactyl, Billy the Triceratops, and of course that means Trini the Saber-Tooth Tiger. The teens don't believe any of this and decides to say nope and see you later. They leave, like you do when a big floaty head gives you powers of a superhero, you naturally just walk out the building. Rita catches wind of this and we see how Finster makes his putties. I actually really like seeing this sequence. I don't believe it's really seen when it comes to making putties, but it is actually really cool. They drop down on our teens who are trying to find a way back to town. Zack starts doing some dance moves and the team tries to fight them off. But even though they do hold their ground for a good solid minute, they are tossed into a bundle. Then they morph for the very first time.
Zordon said these power morphers would give us power. Let's do it! Mastodon!
Pterodactyl!
Triceratops!
Saber-Tooth Tiger!
Tyrannosaurus!
Then this is where something really confusing happens. They morph for the first time, but are instantly teleported into the city. Like, are they just gonna leave the putties there for practice later, or something? Like, are these putties gonna find Zordon? I'm really confused. Now, the Rangers have definitely do a better job fighting the putties here. Rita gets annoyed at this and throws down her staff, which makes Golder grow into a gigantic sized monster. They summon their Zords, and I will admit, watching each Zord come onto the screen brings a lot of hype. It's a lot of fun here. The Zords combine into the Megazord, they tussle with Goldar, but he retreats. Back at the command center, the teens are all chatting, and Zordon congratulates them on a job well done and gives them 3 rules. 1. Never use the power for personal gain. 2. Never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you to. And 3. Keep your Power Ranger identity a secret. They all one by one agreed being Power Rangers, and we end the episode with them cheering. And there we have it. We have what happened in the episode. The plot. So I have a few notes. First off, this isn't great. It's good. I just wouldn't call it fantastic. But there's an excuse of why, I think, anyway. This feels very rushed. We had the introduction of the main bad guy, 4 villains, which weren't all named, by the way, Zordon, Alpha, 5 teenagers, their powers, and their Megazord, all introduced into one episode. And this is barely a 22-minute long episode, mind. It just felt a bit rushed. It kept on jumping to and fro too quickly, not giving any breathing room. It feels like, from the get-go, where Bulk and Skull walk in and Trini and Kimberly flip them over, to the second they agree to being Power Rangers, it feels like it's been 10 minutes in story time. But it is good and it does hold up. It's a lot of fun, the characters are fun. Bulk and Skull are the best in this episode. I've watched a lot of Mighty Morphin, and I think Bulk and Skull are the best in this episode. The first few episodes are the best for Bulk and Skull. They're dumbasses, they're idiots. It's proven here that they're gonna be the tease, the bullies of the season. We also get a really good example that Billy isn't a martial artist. He doesn't fit in with the rest of the group. But his heart and his compassion, his charisma, his drive is what holds him together with the rest of the group. And you can see that with the fight scene as well. Billy doesn't fight as well as the others do. He actually, gets his ass pretty handed to him, which I'm glad they did. Zordon doesn't really get much of an introduction. He's actually seen one or two times. So yeah, it's really, really rushed. There's also the fact that the introduction, the theme song, never actually happens. Zordon never actually does the whole Alpha, we need 5 teenagers attitude, blah, blah, blah. And Rita never screams, after 10,000 years I'm free from the dumpster. That never really actually happens. It kind of like they summarized the pilot episode as quick as they could, and that's what they came up with. I'm not dissing, I'm just making a note. It's not bad at all. It's really rushed. I do believe if they did that format now for a new Power Ranger season, it would go down horribly and no one would like it. Okay, so I've actually been editing this video now for a little while, and I realised I never actually spoke about the designs or my thoughts on the designs of some of the things here. So I thought I'd do that now. Let's start off with the Power Ranger suits themselves. First off, we do have the Power Ranger helmets do look really good. They resembled the Power Ranger dinosaurs. So, for example, the Sabertooth Tiger helmet does have eyes and Sabertooth going down the visor. Then we have things like the Triceratops Zord, which has, representing of the 3 horns. Things like that. And then, of course, the rest of the suit is very colourful, it stands out, and it's mostly the representing colour, with white diamonds pattern going across the chest, which is quite nice, it stands out, and of course, the gloves and the boots mirroring the colour palette, which is also nice, makes them stand out. I know there's Zyuranger, I know that, it's a Sentai suit, but I'm still going to talk about it here, because it's Power Rangers. Then I have a few notes on some of the characters. So let's talk about the main cast here for a second. I think they all look okay. I'm glad, and I know this can sound like a really weird statement, but for the very first Power Ranger season, I'm really glad they went with the fact that there's diversity among the team. We have 2 girls, 3 boys, that seems about right for the early 90s, but we also have an Asian representation and a black representation, African American representation. I'm really glad about that. I know that's a really weird statement, but for the early 90s, it meant something. So, I'm not going to talk about all of Rita's minions. The only one that I'd really mention is Finster, because I just adore my boy. But Goldar does look really menacing, and I don't know, his face looks really strange when he's ginormous. When he's gigantic, his face looks really strange. I don't know if it's the suit that the person has to wear to be Goldar or not. I have no idea, but it does look a bit odd. Rita Repulsa does look menacing. I wouldn't say she looks over the top, but I wouldn't say she also looks world-ending or world-dominating per se, but she looks like a supervillain nevertheless. Then, of course, we have the Putty Patrollers. They do look like they're made out of clay. They do look a bit menacing as well. And for the first ever goon or first ever foot soldier, it holds up. Then, of course, we have some of the CGI. So, of course, we have the morphing sequence. The morphing sequence ain't bad at all. With, of course, having them be appearing inside the morpher. We haven't had a morphin sequence like this one. I think In Space is kind of close-ish, but I wouldn't say we've had a morphin sequence. And it's not even a morphin sequence. It's very fast, very plain, and it still holds up. I like the fact that each ranger has the lightning color behind them, representing what color they are, and of course we have them yelling in the middle. Then we have the dinosaurs themselves. I do like the look of the dinosaurs. You can tell that it's older, early 90s-esque sort of thing. It's not too bad. I'm not too bothered. But, you know, I don't know how to word it, but it's okay. It's not too bad. The Megazord itself does look really good, though. I really do like the way that it all folds together and becomes one big, 5 robots become one big machine. I absolutely adore the design of Alpha. Alpha is a really, really cool, lovely little robot, and he definitely fits in with the 90s, going off the fact that, beforehand we had films like E.T., Johnny 5, things like this with small creatures or robots. Alpha fits in that. Zordon's a bit strange in this first episode. I like the CGI effect of his head appearing in the tube, but I don't know, it just feels like the head doesn't move that much. I think he looks better in later seasons, but in this first episode, he's a bit weird. Anyway, it's a good episode. Let's get down to the rating, shall we? Okay, because it's so rushed, but yet it was a lot of entertaining, I'm gonna have to give a plot of 3. It loses 2 points on the fact that it's really, really rushed, and everything gets crammed in too much. They did not have to bring in the Megazord in this fight. They kind of have their powers and then just get thrown into battle, but they leave the first fight scene there. Those putties are still walking around now getting lost. For characters, I'm going to give a 3 as well. This is my score for, how the characters were portrayed, they well used, blah, blah, and the 5 teenagers with attitude are actually got the most entertaining screen time. Rita's just there, moaning and droning, and Zordon and Alpha literally don't even have a proper introduction. So, I'm giving it a 3 as well. Then we have visuals. I'm going to give it a 3. For the 90s, it actually looks really good. I really like the look of the gym and juice bar. It's really colourful. You can see there's a lot of activities going on. And it was actually filled with people. It looked like it was actually being used. It wasn't a dead set or anything. The command center has this gloominess to it, this aura of fantastic wonder, and I really liked that. And then, of course, you have the moon base for Rita, and yeah, it looks really good, what we see anyway. The Megazord, it just looks so good, the way that all the Zords come out and stuff. It looks fantastic, it honestly does. And of course, we have the Morphin sequence, really looks fantastic. You obviously have them popping up in the Morpher. So yeah, for visuals, I give it a 3. It loses points though, because again, it was rushed. There's more that they could have done. And I don't know if it's these early episodes of Power Rangers or not, but everything just had this weird tone to it, this colour tone. Maybe it's just me. And then entertainment, I have to give it a full 5. This gets a 5 out of 5 for full entertainment. This is fantastic. I adore this episode. It's rushed, but it's a lot of fun. It's just so good seeing these 5 teenagers, all have their motifs, they all have their characteristics, they blend well together. I think Trini's the only one that falls flat, really. And then they're like, oh yeah, Spacehead, sure thing. And then blam, they are now Power Rangers. Fight scene's fantastic. The Megazord turning up for the first time is really good. It's just a lot of fun. So with a 3, a 3, a 3, and a 5, that gives us, say it with me now kids, a 14 out of 20. That isn't actually too bad for a series that came out in the early 90s. And a TV show that's aimed at kids that are still beloved by adults now. Now, of course, I will say this. Power Rangers is a hit and miss for everybody. Everyone has their favourite seasons. Everyone has their seasons they dislike and seasons that they love. So your opinion's obviously going to differ to mine. But that just wants me to encourage you guys to rate it down below. I leave my rating system down below as well on how I rate stuff. So you can use my rating system if you want and rate with me. Rate it yourself and, out of 20, how did it mark for you? And let's go into our final thoughts. Honestly, this episode isn't too bad. Like I said, it's a bit rushed. A lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of to-ing and fro-ing. And honestly, if this formula was used now, I don't think it'd hold up just the same. Maybe coming out in the 90s was a good thing for Power Rangers. I think it held itself really well, though. It was on, it was a TV network for children, and it was competing against some big-time cartoons and TV shows that really hold the test of time as well as Power Rangers. But Power Rangers is still going for 30 years. At this moment in time of recording this, we are on a standstill, but there is something to do with Power Rangers going to come out at some point. We've had 3 movies, 30 years worth of TV shows, the toy line has been up and down, we've had 2 major games that haven't been the greatest. But yeah, when it comes to this episode, it is phenomenal. And honestly, like I said, I didn't grow up in the in-space era. I was born in the in-space era of, the in-space season. So that means by the time that I was actually old enough to tune in, it was Time Force that I actually got roped into. And then I was there for when Wild Force started. Those are my 2 favourite seasons. Just like for people who actually was old enough to watch Power Rangers when it first came out, their favourite's Power Rangers. That's what happens with a TV show that's been running for 30 years. You're gonna have people that prefer the Disney era. There's YouTubers on YouTube that I watch who literally prefer the Disney era of Power Rangers over anything else. And things like this. So it's fine to disagree with me, and it's fine to agree with me, and it's fine to have your own opinion for sure. Now, the next pilot review will be Power Rangers Zeo, the next season in the Zordon era. My thoughts will differ with this one though, because it is a continuation from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Like I said, there's Season 2 and Season 3 in Mighty Morphin, but I'm sticking with pilot episodes for now. So, Zeo's next. I don't exactly know how many Power Ranger seasons I'm going to do before I waver off to something else, but I do want to handle all sorts of pilot episodes. We're talking cartoons, big time TV shows like the Arrowverse, Gotham and Smallville, Charmed and Buffy, those sort of things. There's dramas, there's comedies, there's sitcoms, there's anime, there's all sorts of TV shows I want to get into. So let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to say it one more time for you guys. Comment down below the next TV show I should do a pilot episode review on. Next up is Power Rangers Zeo, and we'll see how it fares. That being said though, thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button, and of course subscribe. And one more thing. There will be more cinema walkout talks, because that seems to do really well on the channel. So yeah, thank you everyone. War of Passion. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.